What's good, Panther Nation? It's your boy, Myron McRae, a.k.a. Tornado McRae, across the skies of the internet, here with another episode of Panthers Pride TV, your one-stop shop for all your Panther notifications and your Panther obligations. Happy Wednesday to all of you lovely guys, gals, ladies, and everything in between. Hope y'all are having a great Wednesday. Happy hump day to all of you, and you're almost there to your long weekend, if you're getting a long weekend. Hope everything goes smooth for you, man. And guys, a few things on the docket for today that I have seen, and I think it's going to be a pretty good day. A few things that have piqued my interest. I think y'all enjoy this. First things first. This is actually a good question of what is the hardest position in football? You know, that's a question that gets asked age old as time. Everybody wants to know what's the hardest position in football. And I know you already have your answer just generated, especially you, Sean. I know you. I know you, bro. I know you got that answer already. But hold up for 1 second. Just 1 second. So that answer has also been asked to our head coach, Dave Canales, and the coach has an answer. He has an answer. So I got this answer from the Carolina Panthers Instagram page because they released an excerpt for today's episode of The Blueprint, which is dropping at 6 p.m. If you haven't seen it already, if you're looking forward to it, I don't know why I say if you haven't seen it. It's dropping later on today. But they dropped a clip from the newest episode that's coming out, and Coach Canales was talking about what the hardest position is in terms of football. And here's what he had to say. He said in the clip, he says, there's no harder position to play physically than interior defensive line. They get after it from the minute the whistle blows. They're going over the bags, under the chutes. They're hitting sleds. They're pulling and pushing on each other. To be that big, to have to run as much as you do, constantly being leaned on by massive humans times two, it requires a different level of grit. It requires a different level of training. Washer, that's Coach Washer, is trying to take them to a place that is uncomfortable so they get really comfortable being there. Now, when Coach says that, like, honestly, Coach makes a valid point. Canales makes a very valid point here. I can see his argument there. However, I actually would kind of disagree.
Nani?
Like, here's the reason. I slightly disagree because I would say from a physical standpoint, the hardest position to play in football would have to be offensive guard. Now, I know some of you are like, I know some of you are probably thinking that. You're like, what are you talking about? Hardest physical? Physically, every play. And here's what I mean. First things first, as an offensive guard, you're absorbing the bull rush of all these defensive linemen. Defensive linemen have one or two jobs. Go disrupt the play or play contain. That is it. At the end of the day, that is a D lineman's job. Either contain or bull rush and blow it up. That is their only two jobs. As a guard, you're kick stepping and having to absorb this man, this grown man, who is just as fast, who is just as agile and just as big, trying to get around you in any which way. And you don't know what move he's going to use. And you're at a somewhat disadvantage because he's just going straight forward. You're trying to kind of kick step if you're in pass protection, or you're trying to go at him and you don't know what's coming. Two, you have to create a pocket for pass protection. So you can't just keep kick stepping and keep dropping back. You have to maintain your foundation, bro. You have to take this grown man bull rushing you, be a wall, a strong wall to provide a pocket for your quarterback. We've all seen it. We've all seen when the pocket breaks down what it looks like. You have to be able to provide that pocket. Three, you have to open gaps in the run game right there at the line, the A gap, the B gap, the C gap. Like the 2 to 4 to 6, the 1 to 3, 1, 3, 5, 7, depending on how you number it or whatever you say. You have to open these gaps for your running backs, maybe your tight ends, jet sweep, your quarterback draws, whoever. And you're doing that while trying to readjust and direct a grown man who doesn't want to go there. You have a grown man who doesn't want to go to the spot that you're trying to force him to. And again, remember, it's a big boy. This ain't just a little corner. This is a big D lineman you have to do that for. And you're trying to make him go against where he's trying to go. Then not only that, you also have to be a lead blocker when you are a pulling guard. And you have to get out and hustle and be a big boy. Then you got to look and make sure you block the right person to seal off that block for your running back that's coming off your tail end. You really have to worry about that. And the piece de resistance of all of this, you have to do this without holding.
Oh!
I'm saying, bro, you have to do all of this without getting a holding penalty because the D linemen can do whatever they want. They can do whatever they want. They can grab your jersey. They can throw you to the side. They can grab you from the outside, inside, left, right, anything. But you, as an offensive lineman, especially as a guard, doing all of that, and you still have to make sure you don't get called for a holding penalty? Bro, like from a physical standpoint, offensive guard got it. D-line, interior D-line is next. Like, interior defensive line is second. I definitely can concede to that. But I would say offensive guard is probably the hardest position because you're being asked to do so much. Center, yes, you have to call out the cadence. You have to be able to call the pass protections from the center position. But from a physical standpoint, you're not pulling. Centers, you're not pulling. And then tackles, you're more so primarily only worried about the D end. The D end or outside linebacker that's coming off that edge. Maybe that inside, if there's like a tackle there, you might have to worry about him. But you're not generally pulling a tackle unless you really need to. So I would definitely say offensive guard is the hardest position. But that's just me. I think Coach Canales, like, he spoke well to it, and I definitely can see why some people would say interior defensive lineman. Now, in terms of technique, I would say the hardest position is DB. Because you have to be in your technique all on your P's and Q's 24/7, 365. And one misstep, you are burnt with ease. You have to stay right in the receiver's hip pocket at all times. So corner, especially corner. Yeah, corner is that number one. Safety, you're playing over the top and you're not directly lined up on somebody. Corner is it. Technique-wise, corner is the hardest. But physically, I'm giving it to offensive guard and then D lineman because not every play corners are physical. Corners do take plays off, the same plays when receivers take plays off, and you just see them on the side just standing up because they all know it's a run play. Offensive linemen, defensive linemen, every play is they just going at it, bro, like two giant walruses. They're just going at it. So I definitely have to agree there. But y'all let me know what you think about that, man. I don't know. I might be wrong. But moving on to offensive linemen, and speaking of offensive linemen, bro, is Taylor Moton's future in Carolina, man? Like,
NANI?
I know. Some of you were sitting there looking at me like, what do you mean is his future in Carolina? Of course it is. Duh. Like, why wouldn't it be? I mean, bro, we got to ask the hard questions, and I'm here to ask them because Taylor, he's a great offensive lineman. But recently, he spoke with Joseph Pearson of The Athletic discussing his future, 2025 coming up, as well as contract and things of that nature. And here's where the first thing, when he was asked about just the 2025 season in general, this is what he had to say. He's like, looking forward, I do, because he was asked about 2025 as well as his contract. He said, looking forward, I do believe I have another contract in me, but right now my focus is on the 2025 season and making sure I do whatever I can to have the best season I can for everybody involved, which obviously is a great answer and that makes sense. It makes a lot of sense. Now, for those of you wondering why the contract thing is because, remember, Moton received a 5-year, $81 million contract extension back in 2021. And the last 3 years, he's actually been restructuring that deal to help with cap room. But this year, Dan Morgan, which is the final year of that contract extension, Dan Morgan and Brant Tillis are actually not having Moten restructure that contract. He's fully accounting for $31.3 million against the cap, which is actually 11.2% of our team's salary cap. And here's what Dan Morgan actually had to say about it. He says this: in terms of Moten's contract situation going forward, I think we're fine either way. We can leave the contract how it is, and we're fine from a cap perspective. Obviously, he said this at the Combine, too. He's like, obviously, we love Taylor. We love everything about him. But right now, we're just going to stay put. And Brant, myself, and Dave will get together at the right time and talk about this in terms of long term. So, you have all of that. You have the contract. You obviously have a guy who has been great here. But then also you have to take into account his injuries. So for those of you, he's kind of been played with a few injuries here and there, his triceps and things like that. But the most notable injury to him is actually his knees to him. Because he suffered that knee injury back in which he missed week 17. And that's been kind of a concern, but he has spoken in a positive light about what's been going on there with him and the training staff. And he says this: in regards to his knees and his injuries, he's like, it's chronic stuff. Most linemen deal with it, but it's just figuring out what we can do to make sure it's limited and I'm still able to explode off it, which right now I can, and I feel like in the future. After a while, you start learning more about it and what you can do to make sure it's as little of an issue as possible. I feel like I'm moving like I was when I was younger. My body's been feeling good. No tricep problems right now. No knee problems. The knees have been feeling good and excited about doing whatever I can to play 17 games plus playoffs. Every play is a sprint, but the whole season is a marathon. I can agree. I can agree with Taylor Moten, and I do like the fact that he has honestly said, yo, my injuries are good. And my injuries are not plaguing me. I'm trying to play the whole season, and I want to be there. And when we look at it, when Taylor Moten's there, bro, he's one of them ones. Obviously, this is PFF grade when you rank him as one of the tackles in the league. So his overall PFF grade is a 77.7, which is 19th out of 140 tackles registered. 19th in the league. Pass blocking, a 80.6, 19th in the league. His run blocking, a 66.9, 52nd in the league. He only allowed one sack last season, which was 29th, and only had one penalty he committed last year, which was 34th, bro. And first of all, I know I hyped him up just yesterday, and I know I talked about him being our best lineman. I do think he is our best lineman. And with that in mind, I say pay the man for the next 3 to 4 years. The foundation seems to be building there. He's part of the O-line foundation. He deserves, if he wants to finish out his career in the next 3 to 4 years or whatever the case may be, I say pay the man. He's proven that he's worth the money. He's been more available than not, and he's earned the opportunity to stay. Now, do I say kill the bank and make him like the highest paid lineman in the entire nation? Probably not, just due to a cap room perspective. You're going to have to try and balance out the cap room amongst everybody. But definitely get Taylor to stay and buy into the culture that you have built here, that you are building, and that you could say he is a part of. He is an established piece of the line, of the core, and it makes total sense to keep him around. I don't see why you wouldn't. But then again, I've seen a lot of things that are crazy. And then lastly, guys, speaking of craziness, the defensive coordinator rankings have been revealed. So, or at least a set of defensive coordinator rankings have been revealed. So, Jacob Infante, Pro Football Sports Network, has ranked all 32 defensive coordinators going into 2029, and this is the list that he came up with. Oh, man, it's a whole lot going on. But if you're looking for our mans, Ajiro Vero, you will see he is ranked all the way down in 29th.
Oh!
I can't even say it's not warranted, bro. Like it is very much warranted. It is very much warranted. I can't even say it's not warranted. But let's see the reason. What are they talking about? And Jacob says it's tough to rank Ajiro Vero this low, seeing as though he's interviewed for several head coaching jobs in recent years. He might end up bouncing back now that Carolina Panthers invested heavily in the defensive line, but that remains to be seen. Under Avero, the Panthers had allowed the most points in NFL in 2024. Since he took over as a defensive coordinator in 2023, they've placed inside the bottom 5 in defense plus in both seasons. He remains more of a case of untapped potential rather than actual substance until his defenses perform better with him as the defensive coordinator. Hey, man's kind of cooked, and I ain't gonna lie to y'all. Y'all were talking about it earlier. The hot seat theory is confirmed. Hot seat theory is confirmed. Avero, if there's anybody on the hot seat, it is Avero. Avero's on the hot seat, bro. You cannot finish a third year straight with a bottom 5 defense, especially if everybody's healthy this year. You can't finish that way, Avero. You are on the hot seat. It is written in the stars. And if you finish with a bottom 3 defense and everybody's healthy, I have no doubts in my mind Carolina will let you go. I have no doubts in my mind Carolina will let you go. Because you have the potential. You do have the potential. They've invested in a lot of our weaknesses on the defensive side of the ball. So now the ball is in your court. Don't make us look like fools, man. But, hey, only time will tell. I don't know, man. We're going to see how it goes. But, guys, let's go ahead and get into the last segment that y'all so much love. Your favorite segment where Panther Nation, you speak your truth, man. I love when y'all speak your truth. I love when you speak your mind. I love when you're honest about it. And the first one that comes up comes from Douglas Petway, 7939. My man said, you're absolutely right. If we're going to make a move, it needs to be before this weekend. You see everybody else making these moves, and the Panthers are known for making moves too late. I'm completely fine with Mike Jackson, but if we're going to move, we need to move now. Facts. I'm saying, bro, we have to. If we're going to make a move, we need to do it now. Like you, as I said, I'm cool if we don't. I'm honestly cool if we don't. But if Carolina is committed to making one, it has to be sooner rather than later. That's 100% truthful, bro. Next comes from Avir. He says, I'm of the opinion that DB isn't as much of a pressing need as interior linebacker is. And now I will say this. I did see a lot of you saying that interior linebacker is actually your bigger concern. Like, I did see a good amount of you, like, co-signing on this one and especially liking this comment. And I get it. I will say I'm not as worried because, again, I will let y'all know right now, this is as I'm looking at the ESPN depth chart for Carolina right now. Just right now. When it comes to interior linemen, our 2 starting interior linemen are Christian Roseboom and Josie Jewell. That does not put fear in my heart. I'm okay with that. Their backups are Jacob Windman, and Trevin Wallace. Much like the way that it seems Carolina is going to believe in Mike Jackson at the corner slot, I'm going to believe that Trevin Wallace and Windman are actually going to step up and do their thing. I honestly think they're going to step up and do their thing. And to me, there's also the possibility I feel like you can rotate these linebackers around in a 3-4. I feel like a 3-4, you can rotate players more. but generally you try to keep them in a spot that they're used to, like inside linebacker, outside linebacker. So obviously you wouldn't move DJ Johnson and Pat Jones inside, but I feel like you could if you needed to. However, I do know some of y'all are like, hey, yo, Trayvon Wallace needs to get like really good really fast because he's not ready. Some of y'all ain't believing in Jacob Windman. I genuinely am not as concerned about the interior linebacker, primarily because we do have Derek Brown coming back. We do have Bobby Brown, and we do have Tershawn Wharton all on the D-line. And then Scorton, Wonham on the outsides, or probably I would say Umami Yellen if it were me, but I don't know how he's been. Like, that's neither here nor there. Either way, I feel as though the front seven has been refortified, especially with Roseboom as well, that the interior isn't going to be as big of a weakness as it was last year. I could be completely wrong. But because it's been refortified and we're getting our force back from injury, I don't think it's going to be as big of a weakness, and we're going to be put in as many situations where our second level is constantly having to be the first point of attack and the first hats on a helmet, like the first ones that put like a helmet on the ball. I don't think that's going to be the case this year. It's definitely going to happen, but I don't think that's going to be the case. So, but I do understand why y'all are concerned. I do get it. There are some interior linebackers out there, so I can concede to that. I can see where you're going there. And then last one comes from J Mania Raciena 2758. Man says, sup. I've seen this comment like a few times on the last few videos. I was like, you know what? I was trying to save it till Friday just for some fun, but I really wanted to give you some love, man, because you constantly put just sup, and I just want to, hey, salute, what's up? I appreciate it, man. But guys, that's all I have for today's video. Please make sure to like, share, subscribe, and hit that notification bell at the bottom so you can always be notified of when I drop these videos. Next, leave a comment below and let me know. One, what do you think the hardest position physically is in football? And then what's the hardest position technique-wise? Two, let me know if you feel that Taylor Moton should be kept for like 3 to 4 years, if we should be looking to trade him, if we should give him a longer contract, shorter contract. What would be the contract y'all would give Taylor? And then 3, hey, do you think they did Avira wrong, ranking him 29th in terms of defensive coordinators heading into this year? Let me know all that and everything in between, because at the end of the day, what do I know? I'm just a skinny brother with 2 tats. Peace. Much love to all you Panthers Nation. Take care. Later days. And as always, keep pounding. I'll see you next time.